to survive, right? What if they came to the Beacon instead and got supportive services and housing and I was doing the math. I was like, oh, the outcomes are 4 times better. The cost is, it's actually 4 times cheaper. And so like exponentially, like it just made so much sense, right? And it would say, taxpayers are paying $106 a night to incarcerate someone. And I was like, oh, I can have them at the Beacon for $26 a night.
From cornfields to high-rises, office to industrial, houses to hotels, and every other asset class in real estate, we cover the people, the projects, and the profit. Welcome to the Investing in Iowa show. This show is for go-doers, action takers, and business owners. It's for people like you who are sick of Uncle Sam taking a huge bite of your apple. If you're looking to get ahead of what's taking place in Iowa, learn who is doing what, and how you can get in on the action, you're in the right place. Hosted by Neil Timmins, an Iowa native who has been involved in over $300 million in real estate right here in Iowa. Recording in studio from West Des Moines. Here's your host, Neil Timmins.
Audience to say, who are you? Where are you from? What do you do?
Yeah, so I'm Melissa Vine. I grew up in Altoona. I've lived in Johnston, Beaverdale, Ankeny, Des Moines, West Des Moines, pretty much toured all the spots. Yeah. I graduated in 99 and went to Iowa State after that. And now I'm the president of the Capital Vine, which is a capital advisory firm for debt and equity, residential and commercial.
Where'd you go to high school?
Johnston is where I graduated. Right. I was at Southeast Spoke before that. So.
Yeah. And then you went to Iowa State. What took you to Iowa State?
Well, that's where I ended up graduating from. Yeah. My backstory is a little wild. Yeah. I started at St. Olaf in vocal music.
Oh, yeah. My cousin went to St. Olaf.
Really?
I have been there multiple times.
Oh, it's a beautiful campus.
Oh, yes, it is.
Yeah, very beautiful. Yeah. I kind of got off track a little bit in life and didn't quite have the critical thinking skills I needed at that age to navigate. And so I ended up getting married very young, transferred to Iowa State where he was, and finished there in communication studies. And, I was part of a group that he and his family were part of that was very prescriptive for what women could do. And so I had a lot of limits on my freedom. So I needed to stay home and have a lot of babies and homeschool them and not pursue anything for my own interests and good. So I was in that for about 10 years, and we owned small businesses. So I did get exposure in that space to small business. I got out of that situation. There was some, abuse happening as well. And then when I got out of that about 11, 12 years ago, overnight, I lost everything. So, I went from being this, wealthy business owner with a robust social circle and kind of an idea of who I was and where I was headed in life, even if it was very narrow, to sort of this kind of dark night of the soul, right? Like, what is my purpose and how do I make money? Because I had $0 and I had 4 boys, 9 and under.
Wow.
And I had no job. And so I quickly grabbed job checking groceries at Hy-Vee for $8.50 an hour. And I did that for a couple months until I got my first kind of full-time position. And I was in victim advocacy for victims of sexual assault and domestic violence on college campuses. So I worked with Drake, Cornell, Simpson, Central, all those when they had crises on campus. Yeah. Great job. Didn't make any money, but it was a great start into kind of the career space. I was there for a time just until I finished my master's degree in mental health counseling. And so I began working as a therapist. And,
what year was that roughly?
Let's see. I graduated in 2016.
With the master's degree.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. And I started working as a therapist, and I stopped receiving child support, and I fought that for like a year, and I had a pro bono lawyer. I had some limitations on how hard I could fight for it since I was limited to what this pro bono lawyer was doing, because I'm still very, very poor. And so after about a year of fighting it and not really making progress, I thought, you know what? I'm just going to figure out myself how to make money and how to navigate the world, right? And this was a new space for me. Women in my family had not worked outside the home, not gotten degrees. Like, it was just a new space for me. So that's when I started my first business on my own. Now, I had almost no capital. And so I would prefer to purchase a business. That's always my preference. Sure. And I think in general, unless something happens organically, it's really the way to go.
Yes. System structures, the whole team, revenue streams. Yeah.
Yes, you can. I liken it to the difference between if you purchase a business, it's like jumping into a canoe where the current is already flowing and all you've got to do is keep paddling,
Yeah.
right? I still have to work, but it's a lot easier.
That's right.
If you start a business or a nonprofit, it's similar to like the wave pool at an amusement park, right? Where you think of inside, what's happening inside that building is still water. Yeah. And then this, I don't know what it looks like, but some type of machine that's creating waves. And if you compare the mental, emotional labor, the difference between those two processes, that's about the difference between, purchasing and starting. However, I didn't have any capital. So it was like, okay. So I started a business. It was losing money. So then I was even more poor.
I'm backwards here.
Backwards financially, but sometimes you can be learning more, right?
There's no doubt.
So I'm working as a therapist. I'm running this business where my average income for 2 years was $1,500 a month. Now my mortgage was because I had, after mediation, I had gotten $20,000. So I used that to put it down as a down payment on a house, and I had a car paid for. So I said, okay, at least if I'm broke, I've got a house and a car, and we can start over. Yeah. So I have this little house, and my mortgage is $950 a month, and I make $1,500 a month, right? And I've got 4 kids, so we would spend less than $50 a week on groceries. Aww. It was so tight. And I can remember being at the gym one time, and someone said, and I have a scholarship to the gym membership, and someone said to me, oh, we're going to do this race on Saturday. Oh, it's only, you should do it. It's only $10. And I remember thinking, well, no, I don't just spend $10 on something, I just don't have that. Right. And it's just a completely different mindset because I had never been poor before. Right. So anyway, the first business is losing money. What I had to do was I had to fail fast, right? I'm basically trying to scrunch 12 years of a career into 3 years and say, okay, I need to figure out, is this a good fit for me? No. Okay, move on, right? Cut your losses and move on.
Right. Yeah.
So I sold it at a loss. And I didn't know that when people go out of business or sell a business at a loss that they sometimes don't pay their loans back. I didn't even know that was a thing. So I took on 3 side jobs. I was putting my house on Airbnb on the weekends, going to stay at my mom's, washing all the sheets and towels every weekend. And that's how I was like, I paid that loan off in a few months because I was like, I don't want this debt hanging over me. I need to move on. And so then I started a second business. Now this one had very low overhead. So it helped me kind of navigate. I was a little shy after what had happened. And that was music booking and speaking. And so I would book music for venues and events and things like that around town.
The whole time you're in this, both in the what you did as a therapist and what you're talking about here, and the prior job, the victim advocacy, you're leveraging your communication skills, right?
Fair.
Which is your degree is in communication studies, and I know you well enough to know that you are an excellent communicator and connector with your communication skills. So it doesn't shock me that the next role is in that vein.
I appreciate that. Yeah. That's not always been the case, so I've had to do a lot of work on that. So I appreciate you acknowledging that. Yeah. So second business. Okay. So now I'm at a point between being a therapist and having this business that I've got enough money that I can say, hey, because, we lived in Grinnell at the time. And I said, hey, I would like to move back to Des Moines. And I had leverage now because I had money. Yeah. Right. And when you've not been in that position before, you don't realize how much having money is a leverage to accomplish getting your basic needs met, and you're having rights to the things that you are, deserve. Right. Yeah. And so being able to say, hey, we all want to move, the boys and I all want to move back to Des Moines. And so I'm able to fight for that now. Right. I can go get my lawyer and I can do the things. Right. So we were able to move back to Des Moines 2019 for that school year. And so excited to be back in Des Moines. And then of course the pandemic hit, but I sold the business. During the pandemic, obviously music booking wasn't huge during that time, but it still did okay, to be honest, and, made a little cash on that. And then I was looking at purchasing a larger business, but it was school-based counseling, and then schools were closed, right? So that didn't make sense. And I was asked to, apply for this executive director position at the Beacon. So that's how I got into nonprofit, back into it. It wasn't necessarily part of the plan, but honestly, it was a really useful step. In that space, I learned so much about scaling a business, right? Because that was a space where there was already a structure, right? And I could just come in and do some cleanup and expansion, right? Yeah. I learned about sales because fundraising is sales. Now, if you ever want to hire a good salesperson, find someone who's good at fundraising, because if you are a fundraiser for a nonprofit, You have no product or service. You are selling good feelings. If I can make you feel good about giving this money, right? Now, then after that, if you go into actual like sales, it's like, oh, I have a product now.
Right. Yeah.
This is a reciprocal relationship.
Yeah, there's something with a benefit outside of a feeling. Yeah.
Because like, this feels easy, right? So I really learned sales, fundraising, being in that space. And, we started, our annual budget was about $500,000 a year. And when I got there and I looked at the financials and the biggest problem they had was turnover, but people weren't getting paid very much. They were making about $10 an hour to start. And some of the shifts were overnight. And you're working with women who are coming out of homelessness and incarceration. Right. It can be a heavy atmosphere, right? Sometimes you've got women who are losing their lives. Can be really
tragic,
difficult things happening, right?
You didn't work this hard to earn next to nothing on your money. Savings accounts barely move the needle. Tech stocks, AI stocks, it kind of feels like Vegas out there right now. Rentals, too oftentimes it means tenants, toilets, termites, and not the cash flow you were thinking. Well, so I've got an alternative. Little Guy Loans Co-Lending Fund. Qualified accredited investors are earning 10 to 11% annual passive returns. It's paid quarterly by co-lending with us alongside me on short-term first lien real estate loans right here in the greater Des Moines area. Your money's backed by a real property, not promises. It stays close to home. We've successfully funded well over $10 million in loans right here in central Iowa. So if you want steady income without headaches, click the link below in the show notes. Let's connect. We'll see if it's a fit for you.
And so I doubled everyone's pay, except for my own. And so found ways to cut other expenses and infuse it into staff compensation, working on our work culture, authenticity, transparency. We had pay transparency. Everyone knew how much everyone made. And just really implementing a culture where there could be just openness. And also we had a lot of fun. So I said, we take this work seriously, but we prank each other. We tell jokes. We laugh with the clients. And really paying attention to the power dynamics, right? Because in a space like that, especially in nonprofit, and I think in business too, right? You think about your entry level versus your C-suite.
Right.
When you walk into the room, you can get a feel for the power dynamics, right? And I wanted people to walk into the Beacon and not even really be able to tell who were the clients and who was the staff and who was the entry level staff and who was the director, because I wanted the feeling to be of community, of team. And then you pay people to reflect their value, right? And so there were some folks that were hesitant about the way that I handled increasing pay. It penciled, to be honest, on the inside. I was like, I don't know if this is going to work. But the next year, our revenue doubled. And I think it's because we were able to build a solid team that we weren't so focused on survival. We got to really invest in the work that we were doing and really overhaul our projects and our procedures. And then
what was the impact on turnover?
Oh gosh, employee turnover went from being constant, I don't know what the percentage was when I got there, to when I left, we had 8% turnover rate.
Wow.
In the homelessness industry. I mean, that is unheard of.
It's unheard of. So, on one hand, you increased the pay, but what people have a hard time putting a price tag on is, what does turnover cost you?
Mm-hmm.
And I can imagine at some point there becomes there's a break-even point somewhere.
And the immeasurables like morale.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah, that's right.
Right. Yeah. And over half of our staff were graduates of the Beacon.
Wow. Okay.
So 8% turnover when half of your staff have been in prison before, right? Like this is these women were amazing. And the women that had come out of prison and were living there now and then working there were so valuable, because I can come in with my fancy degrees and make my fancy little programs, but they've lived it, right? So they might look at the program and be like, this is bullshit, right? Like women they're not gonna, that's not how it works, right? We don't think that way or whatever, right? Yep. And so their expertise was really valuable to me. And I tell you what, women, like the women at the Beacon, if you want to know about someone's character, like they could judge people's character better than anybody, because no one's trying to impress them. Right?
Interesting.
Yeah. If you go meet the CEO, you put your best foot forward. You want them to think well of you. They might be able to help you out in some way. Yeah. If you meet someone who just got out of prison, are you trying to impress them? Are you trying to get anything out of them?
I would sure think being in prison, your EQ really needs to go as high as it possibly can to survive that environment versus your IQ.
Yes. And so they were so in tune with the quality of people's characters because people were not fake around them. Yeah. They were real. And I learned so much from those women. And our offices were in their house, right? So you're interacting all the time and truly amazing women. I mean, they'd be lined up at the door at 4:30 in the morning when we'd open the door to go out to the bus to go to work. I mean, some of the hardest workers I've ever met. So as I got to know these women and I'm in this space and I thought, I'm trying to trace the steps back, right? Okay, these women are here. They've come from prison. I'm meeting these women. They're really hard workers. They're really cool. So I'm following the steps back. I'm like, okay, what was before prison? Oh, okay, they were using substances or selling them. Okay, a lot of them were in domestic violence, making $12 an hour. They don't really have a lot of options. Because like me, like when I got out, okay, yeah, I was poor for a while, but I had a college degree and an 800 credit score and I owned a car and a house. Like I knew how to walk into a bank and ask for a loan. Like I knew how to navigate those systems.
Yeah. To clarify, when you got out, when you say when you got out
of my marriage.
Thank you. Yes, I wanted to. I knew where you were going, and I wanted to tie that together for all our listeners.
Thank you. I appreciate it. That's a really important clarification.
Yeah.
So I followed. I was like following their stepping it back, right, and then back to the childhood they grew up in, the resources they had, the skills they had. And I was like, okay, so why are we putting these women in jail and in prison for substance use if they're coping with trauma, they're trying to survive, right? What if they came to the Beacon instead and got supportive services and housing and I was doing the math. I was like, oh, the outcomes are 4 times better. The cost is it's actually 4 times cheaper. And so like exponentially, like it just made so much sense, right? And it would say, taxpayers are paying $106 a night to incarcerate someone. And I was like, oh, I can have them at the Beacon for $26 a night. But I wasn't able to get that program across the line. And I think part of that was because the system, the criminal justice system, the legal system are very insular. And so on a whim, I took the LSAT. Yeah. This is very on brand with me, sponsored by ADHD. But anyway, so I take the
LSAT. Official sponsor of today's program.
And so I take this on a whim. It goes well. And so Drake Law School offered me a full ride. So I thought, okay, I guess I don't want to be a lawyer. I mean, to me, that sounds like chewing on cardboard, but I love education. It's a great way my brain learns. And so I basically would, work and I'd go to class. I'd run over to Drake and come back to about 5 minutes away from each other. And I'd go back and forth. And so I finished my law degree in May of 24, took the bar. So I got licensed as an attorney. I'm still licensed as a mental health counselor. Well, thank you. Yeah. Thank you. And so I've got this mental health licensure and this attorney licensure, neither of which I'm working full time in. But they influence me so much in the way that I do the work. And now the organization I have, the business I have now, brings together psychology, business, law, finance, right? And I forgot to mention, but while at the Beacon, a big part of that was developing affordable housing, right? So then I'd gotten into the real estate space and loved that. Yeah. So now I get to bring all of these pieces that at the time have felt fairly disjointed from each other and bring them together and say, well, okay.
Well, Steve Jobs said that you can only connect the dots by looking backwards. Isn't that so true?
Very true.
Yeah.
Very true. Yeah. Because at the time, so there were lots of things that didn't make sense. But
so all these things come together, and ultimately they culminate with the ability to put it into practice in a single use, in a single business.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk about that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I got into the real estate and finance space and was, recruited by a national company to help, build out their commercial loan brokering essentially. And I started doing it and they knew I was entrepreneurial and I was pretty upfront, like, hey, I will probably go out on my own at some point. So
right.
And they were fine with that. Yeah. And the thing was I was working pretty solo anyway. Yeah. I think I just was a little hesitant to start another business. I would have much preferred to purchase, which had kind of been the path I'd been on before. But this happened so organically. Yeah. Which I really think is a way that a startup can work.
Yeah.
And so I was working with this company, I was learning the skills, and I'm like, well, this is so adjacent to things I've done before. It didn't feel like a huge leap.
Right.
But, I've started these businesses. I can start a business in my sleep. You just put the operating, the marketing, the structure, you put all the pieces together. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
And go to work.
So I was like, all right, you know what? Let's just do this.
Yeah.
So I filed so spring of 25, I filed the LLC just to get it on the books. And then, I started running things through it in the fall, kind of quietly at first, because I thought, okay, if this doesn't make it, I don't want to be super public. Enough people know me now in the community.
So we're not going to burn the boats. We're just going to start a small fire inside the cabin and not let anybody see it. Got it.
So I was like, I just want to tap my toe in the water.
Yeah.
Because, and I'm like making no money at this point, right? Because when you start a business, there was no revenue. You don't make money till you close something.
All expenses to start.
So it's like, but I will say the difference in that stage was the different, like when I landed in poverty 11, 12 years ago after my divorce, that was being poor. This time of my life was being broke. Right? Because I knew the bounce back would be fine. Yeah. It just was like, okay, you're going to have a few months that are lean, and then, you're going to bounce back higher because you're bringing all these skills into place, and,
So there's a difference, as you describe it, in those financial positions. Mm-hmm. What were the differences in your mental position, your mental state?
Great question. Yeah. That's a great question. And you could take it back even more and more and talk about the women at the Beacon, where generational poverty is a very different mindset, right? Because that is absent hope.
Yeah.
Because you don't know the path out.
Right.
You've not seen it.
Right.
If I told you to go be a billionaire, maybe you are, and I don't know, but if I
all I do for fun is have podcast conversations.
Right. Like if you and I were told, okay, go be a billionaire, right? And we're like, well, I don't know what the rule, like where do we hang out? What do we do? How do we do? What are the social rules? How do we get there? Right. And so we talk to folks that have been generationally lower class, lower socioeconomic status. And we say, oh, just be middle class, right? Just, do these things. It's like, well, they don't know the rules. They don't know, like, how do you get there? Right. And that's, so that level of poor is poor without hope.
Yes.
And poor without path. I don't know the path forward. Right. Yeah. And then where I was, when I landed in poverty after my divorce, when I got out, as we mentioned before, that was poor with hope. But it took a lot of fast thinking, deep thinking. I had to figure out quickly, which I'm not always the best at. This is why I like to keep getting degrees, because I just learn better academically. So I had to do a lot of reading. Mm-hmm. Okay, how do you make money? How do you start a business? How do you figure out what you're supposed to do with your life? Like, for example, I was like, I'm not cut out to be a therapist. I don't mind listening to people's problems, but I'm such a big picture thinker. To be working one-on-one with someone all day does not fill my bucket. Yeah. So, like I had to learn things about myself really quickly and also learn what I was bad at too. Yeah. But that mindset was, there's a lot of embarrassment and shame around it. Like I can remember, like I'd have a SNAP EBT card, right? And I'd like pull it out and try to do it in a way where the person behind me in line wouldn't see that I was using a SNAP card instead of a debit card. Yeah. Right. And so there's things that you pull into the food pantry and you're like, you hope no one sees your car there driving past, like there's some shame around that. That's not so much about, I went to bed hungry some nights. That was not nearly as hard as feeling ashamed about checking their groceries. Yeah.
If you're a house flipper, execute the BRRRR strategy, or do double closings and are in need of money, Little Guy Loans is your go-to lender here in the Des Moines area. Time is money. Loan approvals in 24 hours. Closings in 5 days. Little Guy Loans was founded by Neil Timmins, an investor just like you. Since he has been in over 10,000 homes in Des Moines, there's never an appraisal. Houses, multifamily, and commercial property loans up to $1 million. Check out www.littleguyloans.com.
And so then this time of being broke, there's still some like, ugh, I don't like this, or this is embarrassing if I, have to put something on my credit card. I've never lived off of a credit card before, right? There was some time I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to use my credit card for a little bit until this business is up and running, right? And so there's some like, ugh, I don't love that. But because I could see that, oh, okay, I have these loans in line, they're going to close. I know the money's coming. I know when it's coming, how much it's going to be. That it was a much more temporary stress.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So you got it lifted, you got it off the ground.
Yeah.
You start doing business.
Yeah. And then I went public with it in November. And at that point, I was already so busy I could hardly keep up. So I was like, people are asking what I'm doing. I guess they're used to know I'm I share, right? People are used to know what I'm up to.
Right.
So they're like, what are you doing? So I made it public, which then of course it got even busier. Yeah. But I think there's a gap for this type of service, especially in Iowa. Now about half of my clients are
So let's define for us what does this type of service mean?
Absolutely. Yeah. And so essentially I'm connecting clients with capital sources, right? So it can be on the business side, it might be business acquisition. It could be any type of refinancing. It could be expansion, working capital. It could be buying a real estate for your business.
Operating lines of credit.
Any type of business loan you can think of. Okay. Yep, any type of business loan. Yeah. And then on the real estate side, I can do residential, primary, second, investment property, and anything in there. Multifamily, we've got every asset class within commercial lending.
It's everything on the commercial side.
So, and then I can do institutional capital if you need like full capital stack where you've got a senior loan, you've got preferred equity to fill that whole stack. So
you do equity as well?
Yeah.
Okay. Common equity in real estate transactions and in
typically
businesses?
At this point with the equity piece, I've been doing more as part of a stack within institutional. I've not done the like individual, I'm going to go get 50,000 from this person, 100,000 from this person. It's to me at that point, the capital stack, it's a one-stop shop and you're done, right? I mean, I just think people spend a lot of time having to chase down small checks when you could just go get one big one. Right. It might cost you like a little bit more, but you're done, right? You're not paying someone a year's salary to go raise $100 million.
Correct.
So it's been really fun because I love problem solving. So I love, looking at a financial situation personally in business and figuring out, okay, how can we restructure this and leverage what we've got here and match them, you're a bit of a matchmaker, right? Match them with the right lending source. I've got everything from banks and credit unions to non-bank SBA lenders across the country to private lenders, hard money, every time.
You run the gamut.
Every time.
Yeah.
So I'm a connector. Yeah. Which I love.
Yeah. And what every business and every piece of real estate needs, right, is money.
Yes.
It is the lifeblood of all things inside both of those equations.
And that's what I learned, Neil, because I had learned how to do business. I just wasn't in the right industries.
Yeah. Right.
And I mean, not to say that they're wrong. Someone's doing them, but like there was like you would work so hard and then you'd make $500 on your big thing,
right.
And that was it, right? And that's not bad, but like if you're really wanting to expand, if you're going to do the work anyway, at least be in an industry where it pays, right? And I say the same thing, like if someone's going into sales, if you're going to sell something where you're going to work just as hard either way.
There's no sense in
sell something that makes a lot of money.
No sense in majoring in the minors.
So I've been able to kind of take those skills I learned the hard way and apply them to something that's, it's been great.
2026, what are you most excited about?
Well, we're going to be expanding here. So I'm getting ready to start hiring people because I'm working too many hours. Which I love. And so I'm looking to have someone who, if I could have someone doing, in the $0 to $1 million, someone at $1 to $5 million, and then I can focus on the up to $5 million. We can do, we're doing projects that are hundreds of $1 millions. Wow. So there's no limit on the upper end, to what we can do in that space. So I would rather focus on some of those bigger, more complex deals, and then bring in people to train to do some of the the more common ones.
What gets you excited about the complex deals? Is it the complexity associated with it, therefore tapping that critical thinking? Ooh. Is it the dollars and cents? Is it maybe the whole kit and caboodle?
That's a really good question. It's probably kind of exciting. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think it's exciting. Yeah. It's really cool. And these, these bigger deals are typically things that have a really big impact on the community. Like one of them I'm working on is a medical technology, right? It's global and it's going to have an impact on the medical community, right? Like that's, at that dollar amount, right? And other projects that are really big development projects for a community or for a business, they're really excited because they're making it big, right? And you get to help them do that. And I think there's a lot of people that have an idea or a dream or a plan for their business or their real estate investment, and they go to their bank and the bank says, sorry, no. And they feel like that's it. That's the end of the road, right? And I know with what you do, people experience that when they're trying to get into investment properties and they think, oh, so the bank said no, so I guess I can't do it. And there's just so many more options for lenders out there. So for example, if you go to a bank, they're going to want, like a 1.25 DSCR on something, or maybe 1.15, maybe. There's lenders in the private space that'll do 1-to-1 ratios, right? And, maybe you pay an extra point in interest or two, right? But if it gets you the deal that you're like, I have a plan, this is going to make sense down the long term. Credit score. Sometimes credit score is limiting, right? You get into the private lending space, that's not as much of a barrier in spaces. There's unsecured funds. There's ways to fund stack a little bit more too. And so what I love is I'm really passionate about small business, and I love seeing people be able to get access to the resources that they need.
You hit it on the head. When I think of a bank, I think of first, this is all federally regulated, and they oftentimes get told by the federal government, here's your box. And you can only do certain things in so many boxes. And sometimes you have too many commercial loans or too much exposure in insert asset class here. Right. And so all of us, everybody who's out there buying commercial property, you have a sense who's got an appetite for multifamily, who's got an appetite for whatever it happens to be, hotel, motel, industrial, whatever. When you get into the private world, same type of thing occurs, but when you can connect with a person like you who's a connector, you have a sense of where to go and how to place that versus, sometimes I remember 2.5-3 years ago, right? Interest rates had moved very hard, very fast. I'd call a bank and be like, yeah, we're tapped out. We don't have any money. We're not lending, or the lending threshold is X. You call 5 banks and it'd just be 4 different answers. It would be very materially different versus, when pre-rates moving, everybody had money and they were all lending on just about anything. It just looked very different.
Yes. And I think especially in this space, what I'm seeing a lot right now too, in the SBA space too, right? Like you'll have a bank that does a specific, maybe they do some SBA loans, but it's not what they're doing every single day, right? And so where I'm actually thinking of myself as a partner with a banker is I'm not trying to take their business, but a lot of my referrals come from banks because they'll say, hey, I've got this client. We love this client. I can't place this loan. So I can go place it with a non-bank SBA lender or a private lender, and they don't need the deposits, the credit cards, all the other products that the bank would like to maintain. I'm just going to go place that one loan. So I think of myself as collaborating with my local banks more than competing, definitely not like competing. And so, within that space and for in the real estate space, right? If someone owns a business and it's a cash flowing business, okay, you can go get a 0-down SBA loan to buy a property, right? And you can do that a lot easier in these non-bank SBA lender space, and they're fast. That's all they do.
That's it.
Right. So I'll find the one that specializes in whatever industry you're in, whether it's restaurant or startup or, whatever, trucking, whatever, and say, hey, okay, this is the loan within, you've got a term sheet within a week. That's a pretty solid, like this is probably happening. Right. It's not going to take weeks and then things fall apart. And then, it's just a very different, it's a much faster space because that's just what they do all day long is that one SBA loan or that one, if it's commercial real estate. Okay. We do bridge construction loans all day long. Okay. Here it is, right? It's fast.
It's fast. Yes.
Yeah.
It's totally fast. You know what? Quick metaphor. It reminds me of a river. The fastest part of a river is the narrowest part. You can go faster when you focus. And so that's what makes me, when you think about, when you talked about going quickly, it's because they do the same thing. They're so narrow. They do the same thing over and over and over and over.
Yeah, no, that's I like that. That's really good. So, and I think too, it can get overwhelming for people, even if there is a bank that can do a loan. You might have to go to 10, 20 banks before you find the one that can land on what you're doing, right? And so I can find that bank in a couple of days without someone having to do all that work. So it's a win-win.
It's a shortcut to a solution, to the end, to the finish line, right?
Yeah. And I'm curious because I know you do lending.
Yeah, right.
I'm curious what kind of clients would make sense for me to send to you for business.
Yeah. Well, we didn't pre-program this, so I'll be brief.
This was my choice to ask.
Yeah, I appreciate that. No, our sweet spot for what we do at Little Guy Loans is twofold. One on the house side, the sweet spot is fix and flippers, primarily because people are having a hard time refinancing out to keep them as rentals. So most folks are flipping. Yeah, it's because we move very quickly, right? Same thing what you just said, where we are an alternative to a bank, typically with higher leverage ratios, and we can move much quicker to get things done. I have been inside of over 10,000 homes at this point.
10,000?
Yeah, in Central Iowa.
Wow.
It makes me sound like I'm Moses, 700 years old. Yeah.
That's amazing.
I've just been around forever doing this. And so our ability to get really comfortable with the collateral is pretty quick. But then on the commercial side, it's Iowa businesses. Real estate specifically for commercial real estate here in Iowa, whether it's a refinance or whether it's an acquisition, same type of structure. Somebody's looking for short-term debt to reposition whatever it is that they're in. Either it's their financial situation or, they're moving the value on the collateral typically to get them to a spot to where, in some period of time, they're going to refinance it or sell that thing.
Yeah. That's awesome. Those are great products.
Yeah. No, it's been really good. And to your point, I mean, how rewarding is it to help somebody achieve what it is what it is that they're after, especially if they find their way to you after being told no once or twice or 10 times.
Yeah,
it's pretty rewarding.
Yeah, and we also know that people who have historically not been business owners or real estate investors, which a lot of them are women, right? And obviously that's a passion of mine. Is like, okay, a lot of women don't talk about investing in real estate or finance, and so. If I can help them learn, hey, these are how the rules work. This is what you need, and educate to get more women involved in that space. Like, I love that. I'm excited to see more women getting involved in those spaces.
Absolutely. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Melissa, you ready for the final 3 questions?
Yes.
If you had one piece of advice for your 20-year-old self, I figured you were going to chuckle at that one. What would it be? You only get one.
One piece of advice. Well, oh my gosh, this is a difficult one. Okay, I'm going to go to therapy because I think that would lead to other help in other areas too.
All right, I'm going to allow you to punt on this because I don't mean to pry too much, but doing that, based on where you're at today, what have you learned most about yourself that ultimately changed some action? You put it into play that the most impacted your life?
Probably that my value is intrinsic and not based on how other people treat me.
Yeah. Very empowering, I'd imagine. Yeah. Found yourself there almost like superpower, super strength. I would imagine.
Yeah.
2 books that changed your life.
Let's see. I like Think Again by Adam Grant because I think it's always good to be listening and learning. And I don't ever want to feel like I've arrived at this is the way the world works and this is the truth. And this, there's certainly some underlying principles, but I always want to be open to learning new perspectives, right? And I love to hear, okay, what's the world look like from your angle, from your perspective? What are some blind spots I might have, right? And so and I feel like that book was just a really practical way to kind of get in that mindset, and kind of address the cognitive bias that we often have, confirmation bias. Let's see. Oh my goodness. I love reading. So I love reading. I have so many books that I just absolutely love. Let's see. On the business side, I just read Warren Buffett's biography. It's like over 800 pages, I think.
Wow. Yeah.
I think 700, 800. It's hefty, but it was really interesting.
Was it? Yeah.
Really interesting. And I like the story aspect, right? Of our lives are not linear, and you can have people who, do some great things and have weaknesses too. And
all of us
to be able to, I think it's important for us to be able to own ourselves fully and not like hide the parts that we're ashamed of or that our weaknesses, but just to be like, hey, if I say my weaknesses out loud, you can't talk behind my back about it because I already know.
Right.
Know. Yeah. I already know those things about myself, so it's not a secret.
No, that's exactly right. Yeah.
It has less power, right?
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. Yes, it does.
Yeah, and wouldn't you rather be around people who don't just have this facade and
who are authentic?
Yeah. Right? Yeah. So I want to be that kind of person for other people to feel safe. So.
If you were cast away on an island for a year, you could only get 3 pieces of data about your business each and every month. What 3 things must you know every month to know how your business is running?
How happy are my employees? My bottom line, and then something around strategy. So probably like projection numbers. Yeah.
Well, so I've asked lots of questions. What's one question I did not ask that I should have asked?
I hope you can cut out this long pause while I figure out how to answer this one.
No, I'm just going to leave it all right here.
Like how my kids are doing today.
Yes.
We could do something fun.
I would love it. 4 boys.
I have 4 boys.
And what ages today?
20, 19, 17, and 15.
Okay.
And they are all some of the most amazing humans. Yeah. My 20-year-old is a junior at Iowa State. He's in a combo MBA mechanical engineering program. He is doing awesome.
Correct.
My 19-year-old owns a business called Jack's Garage Doors, and he does very affordable and quality work repairing and installing garage doors, and he's doing awesome. He's actually looking at buying his first investment property. Yeah. My 17-year-old graduated early, and he is at San Diego State right now and absolutely loving life. I mean, how could you not in San Diego?
As we record this in February. Yes.
I know, right? We get on a family FaceTime every Sunday, and we're just all like, the palm trees in the background. Exactly. You're just like, oh. And then my 15-year-old is at Roosevelt. Yeah, they're just phenomenal character and interested in business. They've been so supportive of my journey and truly have changed the legacy in our family of what it looks like to, show up as a man and be a respectful man and have integrity and be honest and do really great things. So I'm happy about, the legacy that's ahead for my family and those boys are a big part of it. So
that's wonderful. Well, this has been a fantastic conversation. I appreciate you taking the time to connect. For people, they want to find you, follow you, connect with you, where can they go? What should they do?
Yeah, all the places. So website is thecapitalvine.com. I've got Instagram. Handle is The Capital Vine. I've got Facebook. The handle is The Capital Vine. And LinkedIn. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. My name, Melissa Vine, or the business. And then, you can connect any way that you'd like. I'm always happy to take a phone call, email, and talk about what someone is looking to do and see, it doesn't hesitate to call. Don't be embarrassed. There are a lot of people right now that are struggling with debt. Their liquidity is low. Yeah. Maybe their assets are good, or maybe not, but we've got a lot of struggling PFS, personal financial statements right now. No shame. Like, I'm here with you. Let's do it. I've been there. Yeah. Let's just get it figured out, right? Yeah. Let's get it refinanced. Let's do it.
Links are below in the show notes for anybody and everybody. Melissa, I appreciate you being here.
So glad I could. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. If you're enjoying the show, may I ask a favor of you? Naturally, subscribe so you never miss an episode. But would you rate and leave an honest written review on Apple Podcasts? Does a lot for us here at the show, and I appreciate reading your thoughts. Great guests make for a great show. If you know of another Iowan who would be a great guest, or you yourself have interest in being a guest, well, get on our radar. Visit Investing in Iowa to fill out an application or recommend a guest. And if you want to connect with me one-on-one, go to LegacyImpactInvestors.com. Click on the Invest With Us button in the top right corner, and there you can pick a time for the two of us to get on the calendar and connect. Until next time, keep investing in Iowa.